Hello viewers, welcome back to Quickbooks 2016. My name is Charles. We are actually working through module 4 right now, where we are talking about customers and jobs. One of the things you have the ability to do in QuickBooks is create estimates for your customers. Think of an estimate as a quote for a job. You can create estimates that actually turn into invoices when you are ready to actually collect some money from your customer. Let's go ahead and flip over to QuickBooks and I will show you how to get started creating estimates in QuickBooks. As now you can see we are in QuickBooks, but as we said, an estimate, it could be a quote. In other words, it could be a quotation that maybe you are supposed to do a certain service or activity or work for a given client, and maybe the customer sent you the quotation for that particular work. So that's basically what we can understand by estimates as far as QuickBooks is concerned. So we want to see how we can be able to create estimates in a QuickBooks. So we want to see the different things that we are going to go through so that we can be able to create an estimate. So we are now in QuickBooks, but what you have to understand is that when you're estimating a job, you'll want to, first of all, click from your chart, from your flow chart. You have to follow your flow chart. You look for where it says estimate. In other words, you look for that icon for estimates. And we can see that icon of estimates on our home screen. This is what we call the estimates, the icon for estimates. If you don't have that option there, it means that you actually told QuickBooks during your Easy Step interview that you don't estimate jobs. In other words, when you went through the Easy Step interview, you didn't actually select that you will do estimates in QuickBooks. And that's why maybe you are not seeing that option right there. So if at all, because we went through that Easy Step interview and I was very careful on certain things, and I explained where you can go under preferences to be able to turn certain things on and to turn certain things off. So let me assume that everyone has what we call estimates on their home screen and they can see it right here. It says estimates, the estimates icon. So maybe I can just go back and I show you, if at all you are not seeing this option, because someone may be wondering, I'm not seeing it on my screen, but you are saying it's supposed to be there. So if you are not seeing it, it means you didn't actually tell QuickBooks that you do estimates in QuickBooks. So if you want that icon to be active, what are you going to do? Let me show you where you can go to turn that on if you don't have that option on the left that actually says jobs and estimates. So where can I go to pick that up? So let me show you the option and we are going to see how we can have that turned on. So where we are going, we go to edit. This is where we go. We go to our menu. In other words, we go to our menu bar, we select or we choose edit. When you click on edit, it will take you to these different icons that you are seeing. But the icon I'm looking for is what we call the preferences. So when you click on preferences, it is going to take you to these options that you are seeing. But my emphasis is just to make sure that I turn that estimate on, estimate icon on. So where I'm going to go, I'm going to check on my left here. These are the things that are on my left. So I'm going to choose where it says jobs and estimates. So it is right here, jobs and estimates. So when I click here, I will see these two options. I'm seeing my preferences and the company preferences. So I'm going to choose company preferences. When you do that, you can actually see this right here. It says, do you create estimates? If you had said no, then you wouldn't see that icon there. But if you had said yes, then it will be showing here. So if you said no, then you have to come and say yes from this point. And of course, when you do create estimates, it means you also need to do progress invoicing. In other words, progress invoicing, what that basically means is that if you have a project of, let's say, 5 years, you are not going to wait for the 5 years to end before you invoice your customer. You will keep on invoicing the customer and they give you a certificate showing what they have completed, the part they have. In other words, the progress of if let's say it was a construction, then you could actually, they are going to be doing progress invoicing. It means they are going to, you are going to, the company is going to be invoicing you for the different items that you have so far completed on the project. So these ones, they must be turned on, and this is where we do that and we click OK. That's how we turn this feature on. So hope you can be able to get that. And everyone, for now, we must say that we are seeing the icon for estimates. So the first thing, if you have seen that this icon is existing, the first thing is to click on that icon, estimate icon, from our home screen or our home page. So when I click on that, it will open for us that dialog box. When that dialog box comes, the first thing QuickBooks wants you to do is to tell it which customer and job you would like to create an estimate for. So you can either start typing the customer's last name in the list, or you can pick it up from the drop down. So the first thing it is asking you the customer stroke the job. You can actually type in here, or you can choose from our drop down list. These are all our customers, all customers with their jobs. So if you know the specific customer, you can just type the last name and you'll be able to get that right. So let's now choose one customer that we are going to actually work on. So, but one thing you have to note is that when you are using the job feature, always choose the job and not the main customer. If you choose the main customer and you start running reports, they will say others, and you really won't know which job, or which like you will not be able to know what job is that transaction applies, because you will not be able to know this transaction is applying to this kind of job, it's kind to this one. So what we are basically looking at here, our main emphasis is not to choose the customer, but we are choosing the job, because it's the job feature that is going to be reflecting on that estimate that we are talking about, but not the real customer. So what you have to note from this point, here we don't type in the customer name. If the customer name was supposed to be Okello George, but the job is kitchen remodel, what we select here, we don't select Okello, we select kitchen remodel. The reason as why we are selecting kitchen remodel is because we are picking the narration that we want specifically for that same customer. We are specifically going to be working on kitchen remodel as our job. But if you pick the name of the customer, it will not tell you that this transaction is belonging, because it may happen that this customer has so many jobs that we are doing for that person. Maybe the person has family room, garage repair, and all that. There are so many things that you can actually see. Maybe if you look at Christy, when you look at this Christy as a customer, she has a job of family room, she has a job of kitchen, she has a job of remodel bathroom. So there are three. If you just select Christy as a customer and you don't select the job, it means the narration will just be others. It will not specify the exact activity that was done for that specific customer. So you have to be careful on that. So we need now to know what are we going to be dealing with. So I'm going to click on kitchen remodel. So let me just click on kitchen remodel for this of Okello. So I've clicked on the kitchen remodel. Now maybe to clarify something, just by default that we are at this point, let me just show you something. If you wanted maybe to set up a new customer that's not already in the list, because it may happen, you may come that the estimate you are creating is for the customer you don't actually have in your list, or in the list of customer, or you don't have, you never created that job for that specific customer. In other words, the job for that customer is not in a list. So the thing is, you don't need to actually move out of QuickBooks. So you don't need to move out from this section of estimate to just go and be able to first add in the customer, creating a customer, as we saw in the previous videos. So we can actually do that without leaving this item. So the issue is, how are we going to be able to do that? Because I'm giving you some of these tips is because I want you to save time whenever you're doing something. You don't need to close this and you also start looking for another one. It will be taking you some more minutes that we need to save as we are here. Let me just assume maybe here. Let me just say I wanted to create George Okello, or the customer I wanted George Okello. But for this estimate, I just wanted to have it for a different job, because the only job that we have under George Okello is kitchen remodel. That's the only job that we have. Let me just assume that we are looking for the same person, George Okello, but now we are doing the estimate for a different job or for another job. In other words, let me just assume I'm creating what we call, I'm creating a showroom. Let me just assume it is going to be a showroom for this customer, or let me call it a family room as they have termed it. Let me just call it a family room, or you can maintain it at showroom. So what I'm going to do here, I just want you to notice that I'm kind of deleting. I've deleted the kitchen model, and what I have remained with, I've removed the kitchen model as our job, and what I have remained with is the name of the customer, George Okello, plus some semicolon. That's what I've remained with. Sorry, these are not semicolon, these are colon. I've remained with the colon, meaning I have George Okello and the colon. So what am I going to do? Since I've got the customer's name and there is a colon at the end, that colon separates the levels. Now, if I type showroom, let me just type it in a small letter so that you can be able to differentiate. Showroom. If I just type showroom, just like the way you've seen, without removing the other colon, and then I hit the tab key. When I hit the tab key, you are seeing that it is actually bringing for me a new dialog box that says customer job not found. What that means is that this showroom as a job is not actually, we didn't create it, and that's true because we are just creating it now. But I just want to give you an expert view of how you can actually create it without wasting time. So it is asking me if I want to set it up. So if I just want to set this up, I can just say we quick add, because the information is already in the system. Hope you have seen how I've done it. You don't need to go back to the setup. You just click on quick add. When you do that, it is going to just create it because the information for John is already there in the system. That's why I only deleted the kitchen remodel and I replaced it with the showroom. That was the essence, for us not to go back into the other previous ways that we did. But if you want to go the other way that we discussed in the previous video, you can actually use it. Either way is correct, but here I was just focusing on the matter of how to actually save time. So if it is a new customer, because now someone may say, let me also do the same thing that we did here when the customer is new. Please, when the customer is new, you go back to the previous video and see how we added a new customer. You go through the whole process and you add that new customer, because there are going to be a lot of information that you need to add. You don't use this shortcut. And the other thing I want you to note is that you can't add two levels at the same time. Hope that one is clear. We can't use two levels. I couldn't type there Okello, comma, George. Then colon, you put showroom. It will be wrong. In other words, these levels, we are meaning the alphabetical order you chose for listing your customers. In other words, are they going to be by last name, first name, or they are going to be first name, last name? You have to be consistent with that. If you change it here, it will not work. That's why we have to be consistent, and that's the point I was emphasizing. So the right thing would have been George or Kello, because we are going into the format or the order that we started with. So it would be, we would put in George or Kello first, and then go ahead and set that up, and then go back into showroom. So since I've finished adding those, we can just now go ahead and proceed to the next thing. And now you will notice that, because now if maybe I just happen to save and close here, though I can't leave some of these blank. Let me just close up here. Yes, I know it is not recorded, but there is something I want you to actually pick. If I come back and I check my customer list, you will see that there, if I come back to my customer list, you will see that there are two things down here. You are seeing underneath George Okello, we have a showroom, and at the same time we have kitchen remodel, but we had only one. This is what I wanted to show you. It has come underneath George Okello. So that's what I wanted you to have a look at. So we can now go to estimate, and we are now picking George Okello, but we are picking a job of showroom. So hope you've gotten the quick way of adding a job, if at all it has been missing. So when that is done, the next thing that you are going to be seeing on this line is what we call the class. This field says class. If you are using the class features in QuickBooks, make sure you always choose a class, because if you don't actually do that, your reports are going to be inaccurate. They are not going to be accurate at all. So if you are using that class feature in QuickBooks, make sure you select the right class. So that's what you are seeing it here. That's what you are seeing. So me, I'm going to go ahead and just choose maybe remodel. And now the next thing you are seeing there, they are templates. QuickBooks is just wants to know which template you want to use. A customized estimate, proposal, or a custom change order. You select what you want to use. But now we are going to cover templates in a later module. But a template basically allows you to change the columns, these columns you are seeing here. It allows you to change the columns. If you want one to maybe to one to be on the left, one to be on the right of the another, you can add some fields as you want. But these templates, they keep on changing based on what you have selected up here. Because there are some ways where someone may want to have a company logo displayed on an estimate. You can actually have that done. There are so many things that you can actually do when you are changing those templates. So you can customize any of your forms in QuickBooks, and then you can choose the template you want to use for each transaction. So I'm just going to leave it at that custom estimate for now. The next thing you will notice is that it has the current date. So can actually come and say maybe we just change this to something that we want. Can just put it at 16th Jan 2024. You can just leave it there, or you can select any date. So if you'd like to change that date, you can actually change it to any date that you would like. And then we are also seeing it has an estimate number. The estimate number is down here. But what you have to understand is that anything that is numbered in QuickBooks will start with the number 1. And the next transaction will have the next number. So if you want this to have a specific number, you can type that number. You can type whatever number that you want. But me, I'm just going to leave it at that. Maybe the other idea is that if you are using a lettering system, in other words, you're just using letter, something like that. You are just using maybe letter A, letter B, any. You can also go ahead and put that in. So me, I'm seeing it is 615. Can just leave it at that point, and we just leave it like that. So you can also see that QuickBooks pulled in the name and address that you set up when you're setting up your customer. If you see something that needs to be changed, then you can go ahead and make those changes right here. Because if you just click in those, you can actually be able to add some information if at all you want to change it. So maybe to just show you something small, if you happen maybe to just say save and close at the bottom here, if you just click on that, it will ask you if you'd like to make that change permanent. If at all you have changed something here, it will ask you if you want to make that change permanent. In other words, even the other things will also change, and it will record that as something that is permanent. So that's the same information that we are seeing. So if you want to record that thing as permanent, you just do the same. We have the shipping too. This one I explained to you in the previous video what we mean, because you may have a customer that is located in let's say in Uganda, but wants you to ship the items to Kenya. And when you ship the items to Kenya, they tell you you send the invoice to Uganda. So it means you'll be having different locations. And those locations, we find ourselves putting them there for that matter. If at all the customer is having one address and is telling you to ship the items to a new location or a new address, then the next thing you will notice is that you need to come down to the bottom and choose an item. If I come to this point here, this is the down part that we are left with. If I just click in this item, it will give me that drop down arrow. That drop down arrow, if you click on it, it will show you the items. So if you just click on this first line of items, it will give you that drop down arrow, and you can actually choose from that list. You see the different items that we have. They are very many. So what we are going to do, what you have to understand from this, your items are going to be things that you are selling to your customers. In other words, these are the products, these are the services you are giving out to your customers. So those are the ones that we call items. Your item might be a service you provide. It might be a physical product. It might also be a physical part. We are seeing them, they are arranged in a given order. But you can choose as many items as you want from that drop down list. So I'm going maybe to just click on, let's say, framing. When I click on framing, it is providing a description area. If you want to put some elaboration here, you can actually come and add, you elaborate on that, or you explain on this. So you can type so many things there if you want to put more clarity. Because now the reason you have ability to add in so many things, because this is going to just wrap those words. In other words, you can be able to type as many as you want, because it is going to be, it has that wrapping. You'll be able to type when it is not ending, so you can add any information as you need to. So what I'm going to do now, I'm also going to come here and I put in the quantity. So if it is flaming, it's something we provide, but it's supposed to be probably charged by hours. It is a service that we are going to be providing, but we are going to be charging based on labor hours. So I can actually say, or I can put in 20 in here. I can put in 20, and then it brought in a cost of $55 for one. So if you just multiply this times this, you must be getting the cost that we are going to incur in terms of total cost for all the 20 hours. So you can change, if you can actually change this price if at all you want to. So if you want, you can make it maybe 50. You can just say, you can just call it $50. Maybe you can change it to $50. If you change it to $50, for example, you will see now it has calculated the 20 times the 20 labor hours times the $50 per labor hour to give you that figure. And now you are seeing the figure, it is 1,100. But the reason it is giving in that small amount, so this amount is supposed to be 1,000, because it's supposed to be the 200, the 20 times the 50. That gives us an amount of, it gives us an amount of $1,000. But now we have a markup. We are seeing we have a markup of negative 5%. So since this is a cost, it is just going to reduce this cost by 5%, which will give us $950. Because a markup, we always know that a markup is a percentage of cost of sales, of cost of goods. In other words, it's a percentage on cost. So since these were hours, were labor costs, we just multiply 5% and we less it. In other words, we are just taking 100% minus 5 times $1,000 to give us $950. So that's how we came to that point. That's why we are seeing the total as $50 instead of the $100,000 because of that markup. In other words, what markup means is that it's a percentage of profit on cost. So these people, they are assuming that they have a profit on cost of 5. So what that means is that they actually spent $950, but for you they charged you $1,000. It means they have made $50 on cost. So that's the implication. So there is something that I skipped here, unit of measurement. This one you are seeing down here. Though it is inactive, this column for unit of measurement, it's inactive, but if you have something you sell by maybe by foot, by yard, or by case, you can create a drop-down list called units of measurement. In other words, they are going to be units of measurement. And then you can choose from that drop-down list. The reason it's not available now is because it wasn't set up in the items itself. But as I said, there is also a markup column, this markup column. I'm just trying to explain some of the things that we are seeing right here. So if you want a markup on item, in other words, if you want to mark an item up, you can actually mark it up. Let's say you can say $1 amount. You can mark it up by say $1 amount. In other words, if the cost is 100, the markup is 1, which means the other one is 99. Or you can actually put it in a percentage form. And you can actually say, I'm going to mark this up by 20% or 10% or 15%. But what you have to do is that you have to put a percentage sign there, unless that won't actually work out. Because now you've seen, I just put in the $50 as the cost plus the unit, and it has computed for us the total for everything. Because the reason that's why it has been able to do that, we had that markup set with a percentage on it, a percentage sign on it. Otherwise, if it was just a mere 5 there without a percent, it wouldn't be able to actually do that. So when you are done, maybe I'm just going to show you a preview of how this looks like, so that we can be able to mark up things, or to mark up things, items, as we want to actually do. But there is one last column that you haven't spoke about. The last column that you see is where you tell QuickBooks if the item itself is taxable or it's not. Here is the item taxable or not. Because if it is taxable, we need to charge tax on it. And if it's not, then we are not supposed to charge a tax, a sales tax. Because now this one brought in automatic as a non-taxable sales option, because it was set up in the item setup. But you can change it here if at all you need to. You can change it and put taxable, and you put the percentage. That's why here, when you're looking at the total keeps on increasing if you put in the tax aspect. So I'm going to put one more, and you will notice that I'm just going to be clicking on the next line, and this time I want to put in a physical product. Let's say that maybe we are going to estimate some wood doors. Can just come here, we say wood doors. They are the ones maybe we are looking for. Wood doors. Those are services up here. They are all services, as you can see. These are inventory parts, but we just want a physical. These are non-inventory. Hope you have seen all of those. I'm going to explain some of those shortly, but I just want you to just see that they are all there. I can just come to inventory part and I pick what we call the wood doors. They are here. Those are physical product. Those are doors. Maybe we need to select the quantity now. Because the narration is already here, you can type as many as you want, because the space is there and it is enough. So if you want to just search, for those who just want to search without looking, you can just say WO and you just be seeing things coming. You just press tab key and you just be moving to the next line. So that's how we can, that's one of the ways we can actually be able to put in some of those things. We can maybe go to another item. We've put in that, but we've not put in the quantity. But now if you see that this thing is also not in the list, you can actually be able to add in. How do I add in a new? You just come here and you go to add a new. You'll be able to see. So if you are not sure that certain things are not there, you don't actually click on them. You just, so that one is done. We just put in the quantity. Remember, these are physical products. So we can maybe first click on that. There is something I want to explain here. This wood door, in other words, the wood doors, we have sub items underneath that wood door. So if you just pick wood door, someone is going to be wondering which wood door, are they for external or for internal? It is very important because we have sub items underneath that wood doors. We are seeing interior and exterior. I want to choose the appropriate one. Let me say we are just going to order exterior, the wood doors, but they are supposed to be exterior. And we want maybe 2 of them. You have to be careful. If you are just picking this, it will be fine. But this one has items underneath. So we can just pick exterior. So we've picked that. That's why it was able to bring in some of these costs because they are already within. But when we selected this wooden door, we've not seen anything coming up here, popping up to be the cost, because we had not selected the right item. So we come and select that physical product. So we just need, maybe we just need 2 of them. Can just put 2. Then it has computed everything here. It has computed. We can leave the price. We can leave the price is okay. The cost, this is the cost, $590.39. We can actually leave that price level there. But now you will notice that this time there is a markup. I'm seeing there is a markup of 90.69, which is roughly, sorry, it is 80.69, which is roughly 81%. and it's a negative. And the reason we are seeing that figure in here is because when you set up an item, you can tell QuickBooks to actually, you can tell QuickBooks how much you typically buy it and how much you typically sell it. In other words, the cost you incur and how much you sell that item. So if both of the fields are filled in, it will assume that this markup, in other words, it's going to assume any markup if at all these figures are actually filled in. So you are seeing it is assuming a given percentage. But this one, we can actually type it here. You can just maybe put on that. You can just select any of this, or you can just type those figures right there, depending on whichever markup that you wanted to pick up from that point. So me, I can just say, maybe I can just type in the figures. I can just type in, maybe, let me just assume 1,000. I see what will happen. And you're seeing that if I expect 1,000, 100,000 as a markup, then the cost is going to increase to $2,108. So if you fill in these figures, you can actually change this and you put it to a percentage. But if you put it on a percentage, you make sure you add the percentage symbol, so that, because now you are saying that it has computed that to that percentage. So any way can actually work out. Whether you put in a figure that the markup, let the markup be, let's say, $5, it will also be able to compute for you those different lines that are there. It will also do the computations. So let's try to look at some of the other things that we are seeing on the screen. Let's try to look at some of these other things that we are looking at. A good thing, we've known how to put in some of those things. So let's try to look at some of the different things that we are seeing on our screen right here. On the bottom left, there is a place for a customer message. This is the bottom left. We are seeing there is a place for customer message. You can say all work is complete. It's been a pleasure working with you. So any kind of information, it can be a thank you message to a customer to appreciate. You can be appreciate, it could be an appreciating message, it could be anything. So if you don't like to actually have any of these in here, you can actually add yours. You can actually add a new. But me, I can just say, thank you for your business. Because the customer gave you the business and now you are appreciating for the consideration. There is also a place for a memo down here at the bottom. Here we have a memo. The customer will not actually see this memo here. That is just something for you to see as the person is working on this estimate. And over on the right, we see the subtotals and the totals of the markup, the total of the sales tax, and then the grand totals. These are the things that you are seeing right here. The subtotal, the markup, and the grand total. This is the grand total, $2,353.42. So over on the right, you will see a section that will just give you some information about your customer. This is where we are seeing the information about this customer, George Okello. And we can see things like their opening balances and all that. There are so many things that we can actually see from this point. We can actually see if these customers, they have been active, if they have balances that are still outstanding or what we are still demanding, if at all they have active invoices, sorry, active estimates. We can actually be able to see recent transactions up here. We can have to see this recent transaction, they will be down here. We can actually have to see some of the notices and all that. But if you don't want to see this area, you can actually hide it right here with this arrow. You have seen it is now hidden. You can actually bring it back or take it off so that you can be able to see the whole estimate. So you are seeing now that is hidden. Now you are seeing that you have a little bit more space that you can actually use to do some of your work within this estimate. If you want, you can add as many as you want. You can maybe add blueprints. You can add like maybe one. They have not put the price. We can actually just put maybe 50, 500. This one we can set is 5%. So there are so many things that we can actually add from that point. So let's go ahead and stop this video right here, and we are going to want to go ahead and take you through to part 2 of this video. And in part 2, we are going to go through all these tabs that you are seeing up here so that you will know some of the other options that you have when you are creating an estimate. These other options you are seeing, all of them, these ones up here, we are going to look at them and you'll be able to see some of the things that you have when you are creating an estimate. So let's see you in the next video, and that's going to be part 2 of estimates. We'll see you there.